Right. So we are officially recording now. Again, thank you all for coming. This is the first of 3 Kroger Talks. So thank you for joining us today. These are going to be very innovative. I'm very excited to have the Kroger team here today. Today, they're going to be talking about leadership, culture, and then their opportunities that they have for students and graduates. And so we are just going to turn it over to them now. Like I said, if you have any questions and you don't want to forget, feel free to drop them in the chat, or when it's time for questions at the end of the presentation, feel free to unmute, and you can even turn your camera on and interact as well. But until then, we're just going to ask you to mute and turn your cameras off, and we'll let the Kroger reps have the floor. So thank you all for joining us today.
Very good. Thank you, Rachel. Well, I guess on behalf of Kroger, thank everybody for joining. And Andrea and I are both excited to share with you today about Kroger, and hope that you find this entertaining as well as educational. Just a little quick introduction. My name is Dave Huber. I've worked for Kroger since 1996, believe it. And I started in that little store, which is now a bigger store, right there on Euclid Avenue, right at the campus store. I started there because I lived in an apartment where I could walk there and didn't have a car. So it was simply just a part-time job. I was a cashier. Little did I know that once I started working there, it just kind of got in my blood. And 25 years later, here I am working in downtown Cincinnati in headquarters in a big, 25-story building. What's really cool about Kroger is and we'll go through some of this, there's just so many different things that Kroger's involved in and so many different opportunities with Kroger. And really, here's a large company like Kroger is headquartered just 90 miles from UK's campus. I had no idea of that when I was your ages and working as a part-time cashier. So I thought it would be good for me to share a little bit about Kroger's history. Before I do that, though, let me also turn it over to Andrea. Give a quick introduction there, and then I'll start in on the presentation.
Sure, thanks, Dave. So like Dave said, my name is Andrea Worland. I work with Kroger as a category manager. I've been with Kroger for almost 3 years officially, but I've been in grocery retailing, merchandising for the past 10 years of my career. Graduated both undergrad and with my MBA from UK. So love to support any way we can the university. And that's me in a little bit of a nutshell. You'll hear more of our story as we go throughout the slides. And Dave and I are open books. If you guys have questions at the end about our specific journey or any questions we can help you with.
Perfect. Thanks, Andrea. So the first slide, I wanted to just comment on this. It's Kroger is fresh for everyone. And really it's one of our taglines of recent, but it's really important to understand with Kroger that everything we do centers around fresh. And you're going to hear that theme come up as we go through. A little bit of history, though, in 1883. So Kroger's been around a long time. 1883, Barney Kroger started the first Kroger store in downtown Cincinnati. He was a bit of an innovator in his time. At the time, in the early 1900s, just so you guys know, the general supermarket that we see today didn't exist. In fact, you had to go to a supermarket, you had to go to a grocery store to get items, then you have to go to a separate store to get your meat, and then even a separate store to get bread. Those were really your staple items. And he was an innovator in the sense that he decided to create his own store that had all those things under one umbrella. In fact, he knew the importance of manufacturing your own products. So he actually manufactured his own bread. Something that isn't crazy to think about today, but back in the late 1800s, it really was. Oh, another quick thing on Barney Kroger. So if you've been to Cincinnati, Cincinnati is heavily influenced. It's a lot of German influence, a lot of German history. So if you go to a Kroger store today and you go back in the meat department and you're looking to buy some bratwurst, things like that, you'll see the bag of Kroger brand sauerkraut. The history of that is Barney Kroger used to buy up all the cabbage he could find, way more than he could sell in the open market. And he would take it back to his mom's kitchen, and she had her family passed down recipe for sauerkraut. And she would hand make all the sauerkraut, and then he would sell it in the stores. That recipe still exists today, so that's still the Kroger brand recipe. Just to give you a little bit of some scale of how big Kroger has become. So from that one store in downtown Cincinnati, it's grown throughout the years and typically through acquisition. But depending on what area of the country some of you are from, you might recognize some of these banners on the screen. But these are all part of the Kroger family of brands. So for example, if you go out west, California, for example, you might know Ralph's, Food for Less, or in Denver area, King Super. Got Fred Meyer on the west, in the Pacific Northwest coast. So again, Kroger is typically in the east. So there's a ton of different banners that Kroger falls under. So it makes it interesting because when you think about Walmart, for example, when Walmart does an advertisement, they can use their one brand and advertise coast to coast. Whereas Kroger actually still maintains these other brand names. So they're advertising. They don't do it on a national scale like Walmart, but each different community and create advertising just for that particular brand. And a lot of times with groceries, it helps us that we keep a familiar brand name to a community when acquisitions happen. So very, very, very cool stuff there.
And then Dave, I did want to mention back on the previous slide, you'll notice that not all of these are traditional grocery stores. So you'll see things like 8451 is the data analytics arm of Kroger. That is what makes Kroger one of the industry leaders in the market, one of the main reasons. And then you can also see things like the Little Clinic. So if you've ever been in a Kroger, you know Little Clinic. Vitacost, which is health and wellness, majorly vitamins and e-commerce platform. So while you'll see a lot of traditional grocery banners throughout this, Kroger does have arms outside of just traditional food space. So lots of opportunities.
Great point. And especially for those of you that are interested in data analytics, 8451 is a giant in that arena. So definitely worth a Google search and check it out. It's also headquartered downtown Cincinnati as well. If you look across the country, you can see how many states that Kroger's in. There's 35 different manufacturing plants, and that's unusual for a grocery retailer. Most go into another retailer and you see the private label brand on the shelf. There's a very good chance that that company is partnered with a national brand to make their products, put their company's name on it. Kroger does some of that, but they also produce a huge amount of products that we sell under the Kroger banner. So we have 30 different manufacturing plants across the country, 45 different distribution centers, almost 3,000 stores. I'm sure around the Lexington area, you've seen almost every one of the stores has a fuel center. A little bit of history there. So I was at the second fuel center in the entire company, was a store in Louisville that I actually was an assistant manager at back when we were first starting to open those. And now they're all over the country. And as Andrea mentioned, the little clinics, as well as our Kroger pharmacies have been huge for just recently with our work on the COVID, not only the testing, but also the distribution of the vaccine. So Kroger has been heavily involved in that arena. Just a few fun facts. We are the #1 seller of gift cards in the country. Fortune magazine named us the top 20 companies and the top 10 companies in changing the world. And when we say changing the world, sounds like a big thing. We'll get into what that's all about here soon. That Kroger's working on. We serve over 11 million customers a day, and we are America's largest florist. You don't think about Kroger all the time in florists, but cool thing, if you are interested in the Kentucky Derby, you know that our Kroger stores in Louisville, the Kroger in Louisville actually creates the garland of roses, which is given out to the winner of the Kentucky Derby each year. And I happen to be in one of the stores that used to create that. It was a huge event, really, really cool if you ever got to see it. It does travel around the stores in Louisville every year. Where they pick a store and then it gets made there. For those of you who are interested in NASCAR, we have our sponsor, the number 47 and 37 cars of the Doherty Racing. We are the largest donor of the USO. We have some recent technology rolling out LED lighting, retrofitting stores, 350 million kilowatts of electricity. And we can see there was, we've created actually a mobile market on wheels, and they used an existing trailer that was set up for NASCAR racing and converted it into a mini. It travels into those food desert areas, so those communities. And I'll tee this one up. This next slide talks about our Kroger's plan to end hunger. So this is a bold statement: end hunger in our communities and eliminate waste in our company by the year 2025. So we first learned about this, a couple of years ago on this huge initiative, and I thought, well, that sounds like a really bold statement. But Kroger could not be more serious about this, and it's a big deal. We are planning, and in fact, it's such a big deal that we're planning on our third of these series is actually going to be to discuss in a lot more depth Kroger's initiative on zero hunger, zero waste. But I think it's worth just spending a little bit of time on it here so you can get a taste of it. So if you're more interested in learning more about it, you can come back to that third series when we talk about it a lot more. So I've got a quick video that I'm going to show on this one, and then we'll come back to the slide.
Of the food. The fundamental absurdity in our food system today. 40%.
Hey, David, I think we're having some trouble, at least I am having some trouble hearing it. Is the volume all the way up on that video? Just check in. Andrea, were you able to hear it okay?
No, it was pretty soft on my end.
Okay. Just wanted to pop in and say that.
Drag it. All right, I'm gonna try again. Just stop me if you can't hear it, and we can not show it.
There's a fundamental absurdity in our food system today. 40% of the food.
Still sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's not coming across very well, David. It's just it's choppy a little bit.
I think if you stop sharing and then stop sharing your screen, and when you reshare your screen, there's a little check mark button that says share my computer audio. And I think you have to have that box checked.
Thank you, Sarah. We're going to try that. Y'all can just bear with us for one moment.
We'll give it one more shot here.
There's a fundamental absurdity in our food system today. 40% of the food that's produced in this country gets thrown away. But 1 in 8 people go to bed hungry every night. And that's just not okay. At Kroger, we believe that we can change that.
Somebody gonna tell you what can be done. Somebody gonna tell you don't have no fun. Somebody gonna tell you which way you go. Somebody gonna tell you everything you don't know. I'm on my way, coming down the line. On my way, gonna get what's mine. On my way, you know it's time. On my Some people say you can't have it all. Some people screaming, you gotta put up walls. Some people talking how it should be.
right. Well, thanks for the suggestions. I'm glad we got the video in. All right. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about our partnerships here. And so this is another plug here for future, or actually our next Kroger Talk series digs a little deeper into Kroger and technology. And I think Kroger, at least the way that I view Kroger when I was a student, and again, I was going for my first part-time job there at the store. I had no idea all the things that Kroger was involved in and what would be to come. So I think it's a snapshot here of just a few things that Kroger is involved in, but we're going to go into a lot deeper detail on some of the behind the scenes things that Kroger is involved in our next event here in 2 more weeks. So 2 weeks from today, we'll have our technology session. And one of these actually is near and dear to my heart because it's the project I'm working on, which is our partnership with Walgreens and our test there. But really with over $120 billion in annual revenue, we as a company, Kroger, we're a little bit late to the game as far as the e-commerce side of the business. But really, we've made up a lot of ground over the last year. When that includes, we purchased Home Chef, which some of you may be familiar with, which is it's a company based out of Chicago that is online meal kits. And then we've also entered into a partnership with Ocado, and you can see that on the bottom right there, which is it's an England-based online grocery company who specializes in automated warehouses that pick customer orders. So for example, if you've ever created a online where you drive to the store and the store associate brings it out, think about these automated warehouses that actually pick those orders where we don't pick them inside of a store, we pick them inside an automated warehouse, but it's completely robotic. So our first one of those Ocado warehouses opens up here in North Cincinnati, I think sometime this year, right, Andrea?
Yeah, we test launch next month with the launch in Cincinnati Monroe in April. So getting close.
Yep, and we've got several more sites all across the country that are being built right now. So I think each one of those warehouses takes about 4 years to build. We're going to go into a lot more detail about that here in a couple of weeks, and it's some really innovative stuff that's going on there. You can see on the top left there is a Neuro, which is an automated self-driving car grocery delivery. So we partnered with that company, and we are testing that. We tested that in the Scottsdale, Arizona market, or I think we're testing that in the Houston market. So some really positive results so far with that. So they are been a good partner so far. And then you can see on the top right, Walgreens plus Kroger there. So that's the project that I'm working on currently. So think about if you go into a Walgreens today and imagine going into a Walgreens and half of that space inside their store is rebranded a Kroger Express and selling really a curated list of products, including fresh meat, fresh produce, all the things that you would want to buy at a traditional Kroger store available to you at Walgreens. Now think about what that would mean if that were to go nationwide in some of those communities where we have, food deserts. Kroger only has, when I say only, compared to Walgreens, we only have 2,800 stores. Walgreens has over 8,000 in the U.S. So imagine how much that could really help some of those areas of our country where fresh food isn't just available right down the street. So we're really excited about our partnership there. We have 2 markets right now that we're testing. Northern Kentucky. So if you've been in that area, maybe you've seen it. And in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I travel a lot back and forth from Knoxville to here. But that's a project that's exciting for us. And again, we'll go into more detail about a lot of those things as we keep going. In-farm on the bottom left there, you can see that. So I think we're testing this in a handful of stores right now where essentially it's a indoor farm that we will grow products inside our stores, kind of hydroponic, and then customers can actually buy those products straight from the store. Pretty neat stuff there. And then there's Instacart, which you may have heard of before. Instacart is not Kroger owned, but they are our partner. And if you ever do Kroger online, want your groceries delivered to your house, Instacart's the partner that we have in that arena. So it's been a good partnership for us as well. And then lastly, we'll talk about Kroger Shipped. When you think about going online and ordering things that, maybe not fresh produce and meat, but more pantry staple items, there's a huge initiative right now to get products shipped direct to your doors. Think about especially families with everybody working and children, getting some of those staple items, whether it be food or baby supplies, things like that, shipped directly to the door. So that's a new one for us. That's doing really well.
The only thing I would add to that, Dave, is that hopefully this gives you an idea that there's a lot of different things going on with Kroger, obviously, but if you are interested in that startup mentality, I always like to say that Kroger is like a really well-funded startup because we are a test and learn culture. We want to grow with the customer and their expectations as they grow into e-commerce and pick up and delivery. We want to grow with them in those areas. We want to meet them where the need is. And so if someone has an idea, we jump, we test, and we learn with those ideas. And so you get into some of these partnerships with Loop on that recyclability standpoint of reusing the same packaging over again, bringing it kind of back like the old milkman mentality of the 50s. So it's a fun thing to be a part of. If you have that ingenuity and that drive to be a part of a startup, that's something to think about too.
Absolutely. Good point. And I mentioned just a few of these, and there's a lot more that Kroger's involved in, but I think it's important to understand there's more that goes on to get products on the shelf than what you might see, especially inside the store, and more things, alternative revenue sourcing that involved in. And these are just a few examples of some of those. So there's some really fun, innovative things going on behind the scenes that we're excited to share more and more with you as we continue these series. Really, with that, I'm going to turn over the second half of this. Andrea is going to talk a little more about really what leadership means at Kroger, really what Kroger leadership is looking for in associates. So, Andrea, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. So Dave's going to help me drive here too. So hopefully we gave you just a little sneak peek under the hood of all the different opportunities that there are at Kroger. Obviously, if there's something you're interested in, let us know and we'll have a discussion about that. But if it's something that you're excited about, we want to share a little bit about what it means to be a part of Kroger from that culture standpoint, what we're looking for to bring candidates in, for team members, peers, etc. So everything at Kroger starts with our leaders, and that's everyone. And I don't know that mentality is the same at every company. I'm a firm believer that everyone we work with is a leader. Our peers, you don't have to be a manager of others. So Dave, if you'll continue on through this slide. Perfect. So the leadership experience builds on everything else that we do at Kroger and impacts the associates experience and the customer's experience. So whether you are a manager of others or you are a peer leader, you're impacting not only your own experience, but the experience of those that work with you. And then ultimately the customer experience. It's not just the customers in the store, but it's the customers that you work with. It's your vendor community, your vendor partners. So all of that builds on top of each other. Having accountability, performance leads to satisfaction. Next slide. There we go. Perfect. So one of the things you'll see as we go through a couple of these slides here is that being a leader at Kroger is just as much about how you do something as about what you're actually doing. We want to ensure that there's a passion for people and a passion for results. So it's influencing the how and the what. Those are both so important when we're talking about a great company culture and impacting the customer. We have to think about how we do something, not just what we're doing. So next slide.
Yeah, real quickly, I'll interject a little bit too. This changed over about the years that I've been with Kroger, but I think understanding, I'll use the example of inside of a store atmosphere. I've had the opportunity to manage several stores, and one thing I realized early on is that I, as a leader, had to really understand the work, understand what it is I'm asking people to do, and if you can really trench yourself into the work and understanding what it's all about, it's a lot easier to get results when you understand what it is you're asking for. Because I've seen it the other way around, and we learned as a company that when you don't really understand what you're asking for, then there's a lot of trust that gets broken. So I do believe that this is a really important key to leading, not only within the store walls at Kroger, but just Kroger in general, is understanding what it is you're asking for, understanding the work, and listening to your associates. It's really important that we do those things. But anyway, I'll pass it back on.
Thanks. Okay, perfect. So this is just an example of what we look through on getting results through people. And these are kind of a sneak peek into what we're looking for if you were to interview as well. So just kind of giving you a little sneak under the hood. But everything comes down to our purpose at Kroger. That's our driving force for any decision that we make, regardless of if we're working in traditional grocery retailing or alternative profit or some of our manufacturing plants. Everything is our purpose, is our why, is to feed the human spirit. It's not just about getting people food on their table, but it's about doing it in a positive and uplifting way, providing them value, being the retailer that they can count on. So how we do that is through our leadership model, ensuring that we have the right team members in place to build that experience out and that strategy, focusing on our values and focusing on our promise to drive the results. So the Kroger leadership model, I know I talked about it briefly, is there's a focus on the passion for people and a passion for results. So I'm not going to read everything on the slide here, but these are just some of the areas where you can think about what are your strengths and what are your areas of opportunity. You know, are you a leader who really excels at passion for people, but you'd love to work on developing passion for results? Are you the other way around? Just some things that we look for. And you don't have to excel at these. We all have our areas of opportunity. Communicating effectively and candidly. Maybe you love giving speeches. Maybe you hate the idea of being on a Zoom call in front of 10 other people. Achieving results through teamwork. Everything we do is as a team. Leading through positive influence, coaching and developing others, putting the customer first at every decision, providing clear and strategic direction, executing with excellence, and leading change and innovation. All of these are the driving force of everything we do in our daily basis.
Absolutely. You know, it reminds me, and we every year we sit down and we do a self-reflection of our performance, and we actually comment on each one of those and reflect back and comment on how do we think we did upholding those different models. So it's always on our top of our mind of everything we do. So those are a good way of explaining it.
So part of the reason that we have the Kroger leadership model is just to ensure that we're all performing at our highest abilities by giving everyone the right tools. So we know that this is what we're aiming for. We know what our strengths are to continue to grow, and we know where our opportunities are so we can continue to develop. This allows us to create the kind of experiences that we're looking for in our associates to have that high performing team. You know, Dave and I get to do fun and amazing things. And I know we have some other team members from Kroger on the line as well, because we have great teams that allow us to do that. Having high talent in our roles and building that rapport with them just allows us to have better results, not only as a company, but for our customer, and retain that talent. Like, we want people to want to work at Kroger. And if we don't have this atmosphere where we stress the passion for people and we only stress the passion for results, we're going to lose high performing talent to other places. If we only have passion for results and we don't have passion for people, we're going to get the results that we need, but we're going to lose other high performing talent as well. So it is this balance between all of them so that we can drive results for each other, for our shareholders, et cetera, but foster that environment that we want to have as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, the third bullet point there, motivate others to perform, grow, and achieve results. I was thinking about that Euclid store experience, right? So I was working as a cashier, and at the time I was not that much younger than maybe some of the assistant managers at the store. So I'd see a couple of the guys out at different places and would just, you know, started a friendship there. And I still remember I was going into my senior year and said, you know, what are you planning to do? And I said, I don't really know. I said, at that time, there weren't really a huge amount of internship opportunities back then. So I remember thinking, you know, I'm not really sure. And so one of the guys said, well, you got to think about Kroger because, you know, it may not be something you've thought about beyond the job you have now, but we're really enjoying what we're doing. And there's so many opportunities with Kroger. And so I started talking a little more about it. And the more I learned, the more I realized that, wow, there's so many opportunities within Kroger. You just have to have the passion to work with people and customers. And so it just kind of feeds. And so I mentioned this earlier on, but how it kind of gets in your blood. And it's just, it's really fun to be experience that and to have that happen organically from just getting a part-time job to what the future looks like here. So just wanted to share a little bit of my story there, but I think it's important to know that it's really all about working with and trusting other people. And that's part of what being a good leader is all about.
And Dave, too, I think you pointed on something is like working in this industry, your output is very visible. And so there is this sense of pride in whatever you're working on. You know, Dave's working on the Walgreens project. So when you hear about another Walgreens store or Kroger Express opening and you know that you worked on that, there's a sense of pride in telling your family members and your friends that you had a part of that. Whether you work in new product development and you're launching a new Kroger unicorn ice cream that's the top flavor that's launched and you had a part of that, there's an excitement, new packaging, getting innovative new brands on the shelf, working with branding and marketing, like all of these different things. When you see the marketing campaign launch on TV, when you see the items on shelf, there's this great sense of pride that you can show your family and your friends that you're really making an impact for the customer. So I love that aspect of it as well, Dave. Thanks.
Yep. Oh, and our highest of leaders in the company. So our CEO, I don't know if this is well known, he is also a graduate of University of Kentucky. So Rodney McMullen, and he's from the state of Kentucky and went to Kentucky and graduated. So he's the CEO of Kroger, and I want to make sure at least we put that nugget out there.
So Dave, here goes the second and last video, right? We'll see if this works.
We're gonna give it a shot. Let's see.
All the work that they do starts with, how can I solve problems for the customer? How can I make their lives easier? And it just comes to life in all that they do every day.
We care about each other's safety inside the plant, outside our plant, and we also care about our well-being.
I'm lucky that they let me come in here every day and be part of this team. You guys make my job easy.
I am so proud of my team because of how they show up for the customer every day.
I've had amazing leaders ever since I first got into Kroger that just helped me be a great leader. What are you doing?
We're actually not here to talk about your team. Can I interrupt? Because we're actually here to talk about you. What? We want to talk about what makes our team so great and how you empower us to be our best every single day.
It's actually about how awesome your leadership is why we're so successful. Well, thank you.
Whatever decision I make, you support me. You always support me in whatever I do. And I appreciate that very, very much.
Me, I'm fresh into manufacturing, and you've done everything you could to coach and develop me, supporting and caring me even in my personal times when my grandfather passed away. You're definitely the best boss that I've ever worked for, so thank you. Thanks, Rachel.
On a personal level, I just feel that you are somebody that just teaches us how we can be successful in our careers. We're just so happy to have you as our leader.
Stacy, I am so grateful.
Thank you. That makes me feel special.
You guys were great. You guys were great before I got here.
I feel so lucky to be surrounded by such an amazing group of people. It is a incredible privilege.
Thank you, Dave. So yeah, that's exciting. I think some of us know some of those people personally, and we can speak to their leadership skills and tell you that is not just a video we make to share with people. I've personally worked on some of those team members that you saw before, and I think they're a reason why you stay with a company and you hope to have a career instead of a job. So that's something that Dave and I want to make sure we lay the foundation for here as we tell you more about the different opportunities. It's really, can you see yourself becoming a part of the Kroger family and the Kroger team? Because you spend so much time working with these team members, collaborating, building things together. And that leadership is really important. So thank you, Dave. Perfect. Well, that is the end of the official presentation that we wanted to go through, but I know we've left some time for questions, and we also have Aiden on from our HR team to go over through some opportunities. So Rachel, do you want me to toss it back to you?
Yeah, that would be great. Would love to take any questions now. I'll probably stop recording for the question piece of it, so people can feel free to ask questions. So I'll go ahead and stop the recording, but if anybody has questions and you feel comfortable, again, not recording in a moment, if you feel comfortable taking turning your video on and turning your audio on, we'd love to hear from you. If you would like to just drop your question in the chat, I'm going to be watching that and relaying that to the Kroger team. So we'll just give a moment for people to get their questions together.